It's time for the 1480 Club. Here's John Lewis and Brian O'Neill.
All right, good morning. Happy Friday. It's the 26th of February today. So every day we're getting closer and closer to spring, closer and closer to March, certainly, as well. But you're here with John Lewis, and I'm happy to say we are live this morning with Mr. Ross Bennett, a Hornell native and a world-famous comedian, I would say. Obviously, you were on the Letterman show just right before Letterman went off air, and that's very exciting.
I won't say famous, and I won't say world famous. However, I have worked around the world.
Great.
And there are some people who know me, some of them from my stand-up comedy, and some of them from other things that we won't mention now.
Great. Well, and right away, I've watched your YouTube clips. I've watched your Letterman clips. Just a great guy, hilarious.
Thanks.
And one thing I'm going to say right away, and I don't mean this, I guess it's all in the word, in the inflection of my voice, but
Good luck.
you look funny.
Oh, thank you very much.
That doesn't mean you look funny, but you look funny.
I used to do this line on stage. I would look at people and they would just look at me and I'd say, I said, I'm a comedian. What else would you expect me to do? I have no control over that. That's out of my realm. But even when I was a cadet at West Point for a year and a half. Even when I was there, it was like, everybody else just sort of looked like a cadet. And then there was this thing that was just standing there, and I remember the tactical officer go, Bennett, stop doing that. What am I doing? I'm just standing here. I'm not doing anything.
And I mean, you have nice, big, lustrous hair, but you wouldn't have had that at West Point, I'm sure.
No, I mean, when you're in the Army, you have your hair cut to where it
cut.
should be. But yeah, I've always been blessed with good hair.
Yeah, it is. Certainly is. Now, when you just said the name Bennett, so Ross Bennett again. I'm here live in the studio. But when we were first speaking together over the phone,
right.
I said, oh, the Bennetts. And I said, I know there was a Bennett family, and I thought Ross Bennett grew up on Bennett Parkway.
That's right.
And we made this connection, and that's where I live. And we won't give the house number away. But believe this or not, listeners, this is how small a world Hornell can be. And then we'll get right into Hornell. What a transition. But Ross and I grew up in the same house.
Go beyond that. You had the same bedroom that I had.
Yes. We said you get
bedroom.
to the top of the stairs, go to the left.
That's
He
right.
said that was my room. I said that was my room.
Yeah.
And I believe my family may have bought it right from your family. So when you moved out, I moved in.
They probably bought it from my grandparents. My grandparents lived it for a few years after we left.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. So same childhood bedroom. We're both talking to each other face to face here on a totally different for totally different reasons.
It's a small world.
It certainly is.
A small town.
Right. So getting into that then, Ross, you're a comedian from Hornell, New York. From listening to your clips and watching some of them online, you talk about Hornell a lot in your show.
I talk about it some.
Okay.
What I found is that I've been working for quite a few years, and the first half of my career, I didn't really make a big thing out of coming from a small town. And about 15 years ago, I moved to the New York City area.
Okay.
And I just had it in my mind that, I needed to sort of brand myself. What is it? Who am I really? That was the big question I asked. And I just came up with this thing, I'm from this small town.
Right.
And I came up with a line, I'm from a small town just on the outskirts of a Walmart.
Which is true.
Which is true. Yeah, they're all true. What do you want? They're all true. And by then we hadn't, my family hadn't lived on Bennett Parkway for a long time, but my mother and father had built a house up on Ashbaugh Hill.
Okay, right where we are.
Where I talked, and then I did a routine about living in a log cabin. Our house isn't really a log cabin, but it's a cabin.
Sure.
And I said, I bought it in a kit, and they delivered it unassembled in a giant cardboard box. Took a week to get all the parts of the house out of the box. I was so tired, I started living in the box. Okay. And just stuff like that just started to develop out of it. And then I found that what I had was this perspective that I worked, I have my worldview is actually as a guy from this small town.
Right. Great.
So even when I go to, so I live in New York City, I work down there, I do all this stuff down there, but still my perspective is still that of a small town guy, that when the first time you're in New York City, you see more people on a block than you see in your hometown all year long.
Right.
Right?
And certainly here in this area.
That's
for
exactly
sure.
it. And And then the people down there are a little more aggressive. An old lady pushes you out of the way on the street with a, boy. She's on your right. Now they're trying to get by. On your right. And what I thought I heard, I've got a knife. I've got a knife, So you're running around. She's got a knife. What kind of a city is this?
No one cares,
That's
you
right.
said.
Yeah, right.
I had heard
do you know what happens? Do you know what happens if you run around New York City and scream someone has a knife? Nothing. Nothing happens. They treated me like I was the problem.
Now, we also mentioned on our phone call before doing our prep call that you're a friar.
There's the Friars Club has been around for over 100 years in New York City, and about when I first got to New York, they found out about me, and someone asked me if I wanted to be a member, and so I work there. You don't work there, you perform there.
Sure, right.
And
okay.
the great thing for me has been, growing up in Hornell, our world didn't. The only comedy I ever saw as a child was on television. It was on the Ed Sullivan Show, the Red Skelton Show, that kind of stuff. So I never had any concept of live performance.
Okay.
And going to the Friars Club, these people have seen all of the greatest comedians in the world over the past 50 years.
Right.
From
sure.
Alan King to, you name all the people you saw on television, they've seen them all up in the Catskills and everything. And so I got to perform for all these people who had seen all of these great comedians, and it's not an easy audience.
Oh, I can't even
they've
imagine.
Seen everything, so you're gonna, you got to do it. You got to do it, and I was able to entertain them. I was able to make them laugh. I was able to do a good job with them, and that always felt good to me. It was kind of like they were giving me their blessing.
Right. Awesome. Very cool.
As much as Jewish people give blessings, do they give blessings? I don't know. I don't know.
Now, also, so tell us a little bit about the Letterman show as well. I can only imagine how cool that would be.
Well, it was, I didn't think I was going to do it. I've been trying to get on literally for 25, 28 years. I've been trying to get on ever since he had his first show. And I just kept saying, no, 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 no. And then the last 10 years, the booker had said, you're not right for the show. You're just not right for the show. And all my friends are saying, but you're perfect for the show.
Oh,
okay.
Right.
And then he gets fired. I won't go into all the stuff. He gets fired. They bring in a couple of young people in their mid to late 20s, to take over the producing job of stand-up there. And they saw me, and they wanted me on the show.
So you were right for the show.
I was vindicated, and it was an exciting experience. I'm glad now that I did it when I did it, because I was really focused, and took from when they saw me to when I did it was 10 months.
Okay.
And took me the whole summer of 2012, the summer of 2012 to put the set together.
Okay,
and then
great.
I had to wait for 6 months.
Wow.
For an opening to happen on the show. And then I finally go out and do the show, and I'm telling you, it was just, I didn't think I was doing everything I could to not be nervous. And then about a half an hour before it starts setting in, and I couldn't feel my legs. It was terrible. And but I went out. I had a good show. It all kind of went away as they introduced me. And Dave was very pleasant to me after. And because he could be kind of prickly.
Sure. Sure. Oh, we've heard.
I've seen him with a lot of comedians. That was nice, Bob. Nice jacket, Bob. And that was it. But he came over. He was he put his. I'll never forget. A giant smile. I could hear him laughing all through this. A giant smile. Sticks his hand out. He goes, "Hello, Ross. I'm Dave Letterman." And I'd never seen him do that with anybody, so for me it was a special moment.
Right, great, and congratulations on that part of your success. That's got to be just a huge milestone.
My son said to me before I did it, he goes, "You have to remember," he goes, "nothing has to come from this. This is Mount Everest.
Sure,
you've climbed Mount Everest. You don't have to expect anything to come from this.
Yes, absolutely.
You could
retire now and be happy.
God bless my son having the presence of mind to just to get me grounded in that.
Great, awesome. Now, with the essence of time here too, Brian, can we roll? Can we take a call for some tickets?
I can give away 2 sets of.
Can we do it at 8?
2 sets.
Can we do it at 8:30?
What's that?
Can we do it at 8:30?
Oh, at 8:30? Yeah,
right now.
absolutely.
Okay,
great.
Sure.
So we're going to give away today.
We'll do it in a few minutes.
2 sets of tickets to Ross's show, and let's plug the show then.
Right. It's going to be tomorrow night.
Great.
At the main place.
Perfect. I think at this point most people know, but the old Knights of Columbus banquet hall.
Someone told me they said the old KFC. I go, really? Kentucky Fried Chicken has turned into a nightclub?
Oh, and for real, that's why I say Knights of Columbus, because when you say KFC, people do not think of that at all. Ever.
So what time is the show? Who knows what time
I
the show
know, it's
is?
at 8 p.m.
It's 8 o'clock.
So the show is at 8.
Yeah.
So I would assume doors maybe 7:30, maybe even before that. And I know drinks should be available. Is there an opening act tomorrow night?
I think there should be.
Okay.
There should be. The person who was going to come wasn't able to make it.
Okay.
And so we're bringing someone down. We're looking for someone up in Rochester.
Oh, great.
Down.
Awesome.
But it's a clean show, by the way.
Great. I've read that online about you, that you like to stay clean, which is excellent.
I've worked adult shows, and I'm not a prude or anything like that. But these shows that I'm doing, it's called the New York Country Comedy Tour. I call this area up here New York Country.
Right.
They have New York City. I call this New York Country. And so I have this little tour of all these places up here I'm doing, and we made the decision that it would all be clean comedy.
Okay.
So
wonderful.
PG, probably. You call it PG is what it probably be.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Ross. And I know we probably have to get to the weather, Brian. Our weatherman's
Really?
waiting.
They can't tell the weather?
Yeah.
They can't look out the window and see it's cold?
So Ross Bennett, thank you so much for joining us this morning live on the 1480 Club, performing tomorrow night at the main place here in Hornell. Showtime 8 p.m. Stay tuned. In the next few minutes, we're going to give away 2 sets of 2 tickets. So hopefully you'll be able to enjoy him live in person like we are this morning. Thank you again, Ross.
Thank you.
AM 1480 WLEA.